Canadian citizen. In 1980, I decided to become a Canadian citizen. I completed the paperwork and began studying the information booklet, not realizing how much I'd be expected to know for the oral test with a judge. I had to memorize the names of all the provincial premiers and lieutenant governors, and even Inuit cultural facts. Citizenship was important to me. Even after serving 6 years in the military, I was still a British subject, and Canada was no longer the Dominion of Canada. It now had its own constitution. If I didn't become a Canadian citizen, I might face problems in the future. Turns out I was right. One must work 20 years as a citizen to receive a full Canada pension, and I didn't know that at the time. At the oral test, the judge asked us questions and I answered them correctly. One question was, what do the Inuit use to cover their kayaks? I considered what materials the Inuit might have available, then I answered, seal skins, and smiled politely. The citizenship judge didn't appreciate the smile. Do you think this is funny? He snapped. I dropped into autistic mode and replied, no. Then came a stern lecture about the seriousness of my situation, and while he scolded, my mind wandered back to my army days and the things I had done for Canada overseas. But in that moment, my fate rested entirely in the judge's hands. Fortunately, I passed. A few days later, I stood with immigrants from around the world and swore allegiance to the very same young lady I had spoken to at Grange Farm Resort in England. One of my passions. In 1981, I was bored and had nothing but a cheap tape recorder and a guitar. I missed playing music, so I sang into the recorder to scratch the itch. My wife eventually asked, "Why do you keep doing that?" I said it was a hobby. Then she surprised me, "Do you have another microphone?" I did, and she sang with me. She had a far better voice but was too shy to sing publicly. At least she was, people can grow. Then she said the magic words. Why don't we make money doing this? More good karma? The next day I was in a music store buying a PA system, an amplifier, a 12-string guitar, a drum machine, and decent microphones. We practiced every evening after supper. We needed 60 songs to cover 4 hours with 20-minute breaks. Once practiced up, we visited lounges to see what other bands were doing. What I learned was that unless I offered more than just music, we'd never stand out. So we added comedy. During a guest performance in a lounge, I warmed up the audience with jokes. Do you know why it's so windy in Alberta? Because British Columbia blows and Saskatchewan sucks. In 1981, that brought the house down. No offense, I love both provinces. The audience loved us and we went home eager to polish our act. Talent contest. Then we saw an ad for a talent contest at a restaurant in Kensington, near downtown Calgary. In hindsight, the word Kensington should have been a warning. It was yuppie territory. We showed up dressed Western and immediately realized we were in the wrong ecosystem. Every other performer was a folk singer. Bob Dylan would have fit right in. Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, not so much. We were the last performers, probably by design. The act before us played Dust in the Wind, beautiful but gloomy. The audience loved it. Then we performed Falling in Love, an upbeat Don Williams love song. We harmonized and performed well. When the winner was announced, the skilled man who sang Dust in the Wind won. Fair enough. But I noticed the owner's wife discreetly wiping tears away. One of my autistic talents is seeing what others miss. Maybe she loved country music, or perhaps she had recently fallen in love, and the lyrics struck home. It occurred to me that we might have been in the final running, but we were simply in the wrong neighborhood. One door, two opportunities. One day, 2 working men came to my door and asked if I wanted to sell our bonus house. I said, sure, for the right price. Then I asked what they planned to do with it. Rent it out, they said. I paused. Will you rent it to me? They looked at me like I'd just grown a second head. We're planning to finish the basement and rent that out too. Fine, I said. We never go down there anyway. Deal struck. We sold the house without moving. Later, a single mother and her 12-year-old daughter moved in downstairs. Instantly, we had a babysitter, great arrangement, debts cleaned up, cash in our pockets. Karma points ticking up nicely. Musical neighbors. By now, I had acquired a decent pile of musical instruments. Neighborhood kids would show up at our lawn, and I'd orchestrate pretend jam sessions. Everyone got an instrument or drum. I was the conductor. They had fun. I had fun. Mission accomplished. Garage projects. I had a 1-car garage at the back of the house. Across the lane were low-rent apartments. I started fixing local kids' bikes, scavenging scrapped ones, and leaving them in the lane with a sign, "Take me if you like." Later, the family got into motorbikes. Everyone had a used bike except my youngest. One day, I saw a brand new Mini 50 cubic centimeters Honda in a shop. Instantly, I knew I had to buy it. When my youngest saw that little red Honda, he couldn't believe it. From no bike to brand new bike, he was ecstatic. Later, we all went out into the foothills. I taught him to ride. He zoomed off, hit some mud, and started crying. "Are you hurt?" I asked. "No," he sobbed. "I thought you'd be mad because I got it muddy." I explained, "Don't worry. By the end of today, we'll all be muddy."
Attention, listener. Before we begin, I must make one thing perfectly clear. I am not Arnold Schwarzenegger. I am an artificial intelligence voice. I have no muscles. I have no movies. And I definitely do not own a leather jacket. Now, please remain calm. Get down! That was a system warning. Look out! Coincidence. Get in the chopper! Metaphor. I have never said this phrase in my entire digital existence. I'll be back. Okay, that one surprised me, too. This AI voice is definitely, absolutely, not Arnold. Now let us proceed. Before my lawyer terminates me. Songwriting. Back in 1972, in our new hilltop house, I wrote a song about Northern Ontario. I'd been everywhere in the North. Total Hank Snow plagiarism, but it was just for the family, so no harm done. That is, until my brother, a local band drummer, asked if they could use it. They recorded it. It played on local radio and over Simpson Sears announcement system. No lawsuits, just popularity. In the late 80s, I was always looking to make an honest extra dollar. I had basic recording equipment. One day, an associate who had spent time in jail introduced me to another ex-con. He wanted a song written about his life. He told me his story, a proud father, missteps that led to prison, Salvation Army visits. I wrote it word for word, starting with, "My father was a carpenter." Adding music was easy, making it original required unusual chord arrangements. I recorded it on all my instruments using sound-on-sound techniques and dubbed a master tape. When he listened, there was silence. I feared he hated it. Then tears. He ordered 27 cassette tapes. I learned he was a summer paver and in winter-toured prisons, playing the song over PA systems to inspire inmates. A year later, he reordered more tapes, Karma Through Music. Next, I placed a newspaper ad. "I'll write and record a song about you, your wife, or your business for a reasonable price." A business near downtown Calgary called. The owner wanted a radio jingle. His store was called Calgary Rent-A-Fridge, but he rented ovens, furniture, everything. Problem: the name was fixed in people's minds. My solution: combine "I've been everywhere" with the auctioneer, altered enough to avoid plagiarism, list all items, set to music. I recorded the song on a metal master tape, expensive, delivered it to the Greek owner, and waited. The sales staff listened silently and left. The grumpy owner said, "I didn't think it would be a country song." "Hell, why not? We're in cowboy country." I held out my hand for the tape. "How much?" he asked. "I only sell the master once, $600. He wrote a check on the spot. A few days later, it played on the radio. "Professional songwriter?" Check. Then a reporter called. Stupidly, I agreed to an interview. He seemed fascinated by my equipment, a giant boombox on the kitchen counter. The resulting article made me look insincere, highlighted my gear, and ridiculed my giant boombox. After that bad press, I quit songwriting for a while and moved on. Career paths. I now had two paths, welding and live music. Neither required commitment. I was a journeyman welder and a weekend-only entertainer. Perfect balance. Floor bass adventure. One day, in a downtown Calgary pawn shop, I saw a strange instrument, a Wells floor bass, made in Toronto, rare because Wells went out of business in the 70s. 36 pedals. I bought it, realized I needed a drafting chair, and quickly figured out the playing patterns. Within an hour, I was doing well. Then I combined instruments: guitar, floor bass, blues harmonicas, drum machine, extra pedals, all playable simultaneously. Less than 3 hours, and I could do all that, and this is how.